Hey, my Liptons. So, initially, I wasn't going to do a video today because, it's Christmas and there's a lot going on. But unfortunately, I have to do a video because it's like all I see on my timeline is a bunch of buffoonery, just a bunch of idiots. It's one thing with the Megan Thee Stallion thing. It's another thing now with this. Now I'm gonna do another video based on the wrestling world, the wrestling community. So Ric Flair. If you guys don't know Ric Flair, Ric Flair is one of the ex. I don't know if he's still wrestling. I think he's still wrestling, but he's a legend in the wrestling business. He's worked in WCW, he's worked in WWE, that sort of thing. Now, this is gonna be a roast. This is gonna be a roast of Ric Flair because if y'all are fans of Ric Flair, I suggest you guys should click off this video because I'm going to be criticizing the fuck out of Ric Flair in this video, okay? Because Ric Flair, for me, has shown that he has never grown. Even though he's an old man, but in his brain is still like a 5-year-old, just whining, complaining, bitching and moaning, okay? And that's the part that irritates me about Ric Flair. So I'm gonna get into why I say this. So, I was scrolling down YouTube and everything like that. Like sometimes I'll get like shorts that will pop up, right? And then this popped up. Let me show y'all. This popped up, right? So this is Ric Flair finally responds to Jim Ross from Dark Side of the Ring. I suggest you guys go and watch the video, so you can get the full context. But there's a small clip that he said, and then we'll get into it.
Jim Ross lost every bit of credibility with me in life, in spite of calling me the greatest wrestler of all time, when he jumped on the dark side of wrestling. Because all he is starving for and leaning on life is to be relevant. Because he ain't.
I'm not gonna do the whole clip because I don't want to get copyright strike. But that's just the small clip of it. First of all, Rick, aren't you the same one that had your last match? What, earlier this year was it? Like Ric Flair's last match that you had, and you were that looking like a purple big Barney having ass. You were bloodied. The match was terrible. Aren't you the same one still wrestling in your 70s? Talking about you still want to be Jim Ross, or you're still trying to be relevant. Sir, it looks like you're still trying to be relevant. And I don't know for what. You're a legend at this point. Why are you still wrestling? And plus, I've heard that you had a pacemaker in your heart. Why are you still wrestling? Knowing that you can, God forbid, pass away while doing this. That's one. Number two, and don't get me wrong, I'm not defending Jim Ross, and I'm gonna get to why I'm not defending Jim Ross, okay? You wanna be like, oh, Jim Ross, he got on that dark side of the ring and he just lost all credibility for me. Second of all, Jim Ross said his piece. He spoke his truth. Whether Jim Ross wants to admit it or not. I know he likes to claim that, oh, they cut some parts out. No. Jim Ross spoke his truth as to why you weren't fired of what happened in that plane ride from hell situation years ago. Okay? At the end of the day, it is a known fact that Ric Flair back in the day, even in the early 2000s as well, this guy will come into the airplane, I guess just to be doing pranks or whatever, making ribs, whatever the hell they call it in the wrestling community, taking out his robe, butt naked, strutting down the aisle, trying to make I don't know what they said, making an airplane with his penis. I have no idea. These men, you would be doing that on a regular basis, I've heard. From so many credible wrestlers, Sting, X-Pac, they said it multiple times that you will go on the airplane, take off your robe, you will be butt naked, putting your dick in everybody's face, just strutting around, acting a damn fool as if you're not a whole father, a whole grandfather at that. Just acting foolish. So that is a fact, okay? What is alleged What is alleged, because there was a settlement. Allegedly, you also sexually, I don't know, it's sexual harass or sexual assault. You allegedly sexually assaulted a stewardess on the plane. You told her to touch your penis. You ended up grabbing her hand and making her touch your penis. This is all allegedly, but this is what the stewardess said. If you guys don't know what I'm talking about, go watch Dark Side of the Ring, and it's the plane ride from hell. You'll get the context of what's going on in that. It's one of the most popular stories in the wrestling community. So, Rick, here is my thing with you. It's one thing if it's like, you know what, you came out and you're like, you know what, I deny it, da 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 da. Let it be. At the end of the day, you already denied it. For you to come out and be like, oh, Jim Ross made me da da da. First of all, Jim Ross spoke his piece. But the second of all thing is, I know that you have taken no personal responsibility. And that shows me how immature you are. Because at the end of the day, even though this is allegedly, with the whole stewardess thing, I personally believe the flight attendant. I believe the stewardess. I believe that Ric Flair did do that shit to her. Okay? I believe that Ric Flair did that shit to her. And I also believe, shout out to Scott Hall, RIP. But I also believe that what she said Scott Hall did to her as well. Okay? At the end of the day, not everything is a damn lie. Because it's the truth that you be out here, taking your robe off, swinging your penis around as if this is fucking, like, what? Like, what is this, like a porno or something? Like, why are you taking off your robe in front of all these people? If he's been doing it for years at that. So, it's like you take no personal responsibility. You have no empathy for what you put that woman through. And unfortunately, WWE had to, do a settlement with the woman so that this bad news didn't come out. You just like, you're so worried about your reputation and your legacy, da da da. If you were so worried about your legacy and reputation, you wouldn't have never done that on that plane to begin with. And God knows what you would have done, what you've done in the past. So, because so far we don't know about the plane ride for hell. God knows what happened in the 70s and 80s. Talking about limousine riding and jet flying and whatever, kiss stealing. So, for you to be mad at Jim Ross for, and mind you, Jim Ross is not only talking about Ric Flair. He was talking about so many other, like, Goldust and Scott Hall and what was happening on that flight. So, at the end of the day, the only person that you need to be mad at, Ric Flair, is yourself. You need to be mad at yourself. Because the reason why you didn't get hired by AEW is because you were acting a fool and continue to act a fool. Talking about my last match at the age of 150 years old. Go sit down and stay retired. Now, on to Jim Ross. And there's no shade. For me, I love Jim Ross with all my heart. I think that he's one of the best announcers ever. He is the best announcer for me, along with Jerry the King Lawler. But Jim, I feel like I gotta be honest with you. When Jim Ross watched that Dark Side of the Ring, because Jim Ross has been part of Dark Side of the Ring since the beginning, and he never had an issue with any of the episodes that he was in. But this particular one, this plane ride from hell episode that happened, nobody looked good in this episode. None. Tommy Dreamer, Ric Flair, Jim Ross, even Rob Van Dam. And I love Rob. But even RVD, I think it was maybe like a Floridian slip or something where he said that, back in the day, like, we will slip stuff in people's drink and we will have our way with them. Not to say him personally, but he was saying other wrestlers would do that. So we got to be honest. There's a toxic culture that has been brewing in the wrestling community. Not to say it's there now, but I'm just saying, especially in the 70s, 80s, 90s, even the early 2000s, it was really bad. And I feel like we should be able to address that and be like, yo, a lot of this shit that we did was not okay. And it's fine to say that. It's fine to grow. So for Jim Ross to come out and say he's no longer going to be a part of Dark Side of the Ring because he felt like they edited out his comments and whatever. Jim, let's be honest, and it's no shade. You said what you said. You said what you said, and you said the reason why Ric Flair wasn't fired when that whole situation happened is because at the end of the day, Ric Flair was a huge star. He just came back to the WWE. You know, it would have been bad for them to take out Ric Flair, who the audience just loves, to fire him. So we just had to, fire, Scott, Mr. Perfect, for the fight. Also, speaking of Mr. Perfect, so Brock Lesnar, and Mr. Perfect got into a whole fight on that plane. And allegedly, I have to say allegedly because I don't know. Allegedly, Brock Lesnar flashed Terry Runnels. Terry Runnels said that on the Plane Ride from Hell episode. That's what she said. So I don't know if it's true or not, but according to Terry Runnels, she said that Brock Lesnar flashed her. So, and basically Paul Heyman and them told her to suck it up and whatever. Don't sell it, whatever the hell they say. So there is a sexual, like, harassment, sexual assault culture. And it's not only in wrestling, it's all over these different industries. Even in Hollywood, look at the Harvey Weinstein situation. Look at Bill Cosby. Look at, in the music industry, R. Kelly. There's so many of this, like, just toxic culture that's brewing in all these industries. And I feel like there's nothing wrong with addressing that, right? I just think that for Jim Ross, it made him look, in that episode, he looked like an ineffective, boss. Even though he wasn't, he was the head of talent relations, but he was still in charge of the talent, right? And I think Jim Ross felt like, at the end of the day, these are some grown men. They can handle themselves. They can da. But it's like, yeah, that is true. These are grown men, and they have, they need to stand in their shit. But at the same time, Jim, you're also the head of talent relations. I don't give a fuck. I would have fired Ric Flair, because at the end of the day, this falls back on Vince and the company. So we're the ones that are going to have to pay off this thing. So I would have fired Ric Flair. I would have fired Scott Hall. Like, no. You don't get to do shit like that and just to stay in the company. So Jim saw that episode. He saw how bad everybody looked as well as himself. And that's why he's no longer being a part of, Vice TV or, the dark side of the ring. And it is what it is. He has that choice not to do it. But don't say like, oh, like, well, they edited out my comment and this and that. It's just like, Jim, be for real. You said what you said. And stand in what you said. That's the part that sends me. Stand in what you say at the end of the day. It's not like you're saying anything new at that. So that's me when it comes to Jim Ross. Ric Flair, I think that Ric Flair is very childish. I think that he's very, in a way, idiotic. I think that Ric Flair only cares about himself. I also think Ric Flair is just a narcissist at that. It's like you want everybody to suck your dick, no pun intended. You want everybody to suck your dick and kiss your ass. And the moment we criticize you when you do some stupid ass shit, you want to get mad talking about nobody has credibility, nobody's relevant, da da da. Well, sir, you're still trying to be relevant by wrestling at the age of 70 something. Be serious, Rick, and grow the fuck up. Because it's not looking, and plus they're going off on you in the comment section for that. So I suggest you, pack it up, no pun intended, and do better. Just do better at this point. Because obviously there's nothing we can do. Yeah, had a settlement years ago. So it's not like the woman can come back and, even though I wouldn't have never done that, I would have taken your ass to court, trial. I understand, it's a long process and all, but that's just me. But, other victims, they do it another way. But whatever. Either way, I know that sounded fiery, guys, but it's just like, I get irritated when people don't take personal responsibility for their stupid actions. And it's like, don't get me wrong, nobody is perfect. Nobody's perfect. But it's like when something like this happens and a victim comes forward and say, "Hey, like this shit happened and it really hurt me and it was hard for me." Don't just be like, "Oh, well, y'all just going against me." It's like, come on. And honestly, Rick, here's my thing too. If you feel like that was such a, defamation of character for you, why don't you go and sue the lady? Since you say you didn't do it, go sue her for defamation of character. Say that she's lying. Do that. But we all know what the tea is. Either way, please like, comment, and subscribe. Please tell me what you guys think about Ric Flair's bullshit comments. And tell me what you guys think about Jim Ross no longer being part of Dark Side of the Ring. Do you think that he's just trying to save face, trying to save the company, trying to save wrestling as a whole? Because he basically exposed the culture of some of the culture of what wrestling is, what it used to be, I would say. So please like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.